All right. I actually really love this time of year because it's all about E3, baby. EA's, Microsoft, Sony, Square Enix. Such a good time to be a gamer when all these companies are out there showing off their big games coming out in the future. And today was EA. They started off E3 with their EA Play thing, their press conference. They're kind of removed from E3 itself. They put it outside of it. And, well, if you guys follow me on Twitter, which you should, link is always in the description, you know that I wasn't very hyped for this show. I gave it a 3 out of 10 in my hype level. 3 out of 10. Because I've watched all the previous EA press conferences and they're always underwhelming. And as my buddy OBJ would say, they're trash or they're garbage, straight trash. And I wasn't expecting much from this one. I was looking forward to seeing what Anthem was going to show, as that game we haven't really seen gameplay since Xbox's press conference last year. I was looking forward to seeing more Battlefield 5 and potentially seeing some Star Wars stuff. And what we got was just your usual EA press conference stuff. Stilted dialogue, awkward, speaking dialogue, basically, with some good like indie games, but their presentation on some of their AAA stuff just isn't very good. And I want to shout out everybody in the chat right now. We got OBJ, we got Constant Throne, we got Cypress Smurf, we got Setakabia. Sorry if I mispronounced any of your guys' name. Appreciate you guys all being here for this impromptu show. It's just me. Jez was busy doing some stuff. I wanted to do a reaction video with him, of course, as we do the Xbox 2 podcast. But we're going to talk about that on Wednesday during the regular show. So it's just me. And maybe later on, more people can join. I don't know. What's up, Gaming Forte? How you doing, bro? What's up, Jay Zarp? So I'm going to give my thoughts. We're going to go over this in order. We're going to give my thoughts about it. And talk about why, in my opinion, this show was just your usual EA press conference. It was poorly produced. Some of the stuff was interesting, but for the most part, you could just read a recap on Twitter or elsewhere, and just it'd be like watching the show. It was like an hour and a half of just mediocre. This is why I don't care for EA's press conferences. They're just not very good. They don't have... It seems like when you compare press conferences, like Microsoft and Sony, and even Ubisoft's, seem very professional. They're well put together, really good pacing. They show off a ton of games, and you can tell that they rehearsed, with teleprompters and stuff, so they get across what they want to say really quickly. But EA's goes for a different one. Maybe it's because they bring in a lot of people from DICE, and they're from Sweden, so they have those heavy accents, and they don't speak English very well, but it just comes off as just, man, this isn't very professional. It's kind of boring. So let's get actually into the details here. We have Battlefield 5. That's what they kind of started off with. Well, first off, they actually started off with Andrea Renee, who I don't really have a problem with. I thought she did a decent job, especially in comparison to the previous hosts. So that, in my opinion, was an upgrade. Still not great, but, it was her first time doing it. I'm sure there are a lot of nerves when you do things like that. So I don't really blame her for it, but I thought she did well with what she had. What's going on, Griffin? How you doing, man? But yeah, Battlefield 5 is what they started out with first, and I'm looking forward to the game. I'm a huge DICE fan. The women being in Battlefield 5 and the whole history thing, that doesn't really bother me. I know it bothers other people, but I just don't really care. It's just a video game to me, not a history lesson. So I'm excited to play it. The destruction looks really good in that game, though. You know what I mean? Like watching that tank roll through the building as the building collapses and the snow falls on the ground. I really, really enjoyed that. And then they kind of dropped the bomb. They are doing Battle Royale, which they previously said they weren't going to do. And I'm like, holy crap. You guys know I'm a big Battle Royale fan. I play PUBG quite a bit. And I always wondered what PUBG would be like if it was actually made by a really good developer like DICE. I imagine full destruction. So here I am when they announced this, thinking to myself, oh my God, an actual AAA battle royale by a really good developer with great, gunplay, with huge maps, with vehicles, with destruction. Oh man, I'm getting excited just thinking about that. I'm going to call it the PUBG killer because that's what it is. Battlefield is going to kill PUBG, and it's going to be great. I can't wait to play Battlefield 5. They did mention that it may not be there at launch, or at least not right away, but I am hyped for that mode. The single player stuff, well, DICE has never really done single player well, quite frankly, in any of their Battlefield games. I mean, they're competent, but they're never really as good as Call of Duty's. They're just okay. You know what I mean? They're just okay. I'm looking forward to seeing the trailer, or whatever they're going to show at Microsoft's thing tomorrow. But of course, this was also a show about apologizing to fans about the loot box and premium pass stuff. Every single game here, almost for the most part, like Battlefield 5, they made a point to mention no loot boxes and no premium pass, which got a bunch of applause, which is kind of, are we at that point now where we have to applaud when a developer is like, no loot boxes, we're not going to drain you of your money, we're not going to have these predatory features in our games, and are we really at that point in gaming now where we're applauding this, and that developers are going out of their way to tell us there are no loot boxes? Man, EA really screwed up with Star Wars Battlefront 2, and the industry is paying for it because they're not the only ones to basically be doing this. I don't know how many other games I've seen recently come out and be like, we're not doing loot boxes. Not us. All because of what EA did. So I'm excited for Battlefield 5. I do think it has a bad release date. October 19th, right in between Call of Duty and Red Dead 2. Reminds me a lot of Titanfall 2 situation back in 2016. But I think Battlefield's big enough to survive that. But honestly, the thing I'm looking forward to the most is the Battle Royale mode, which doesn't look like it's going to be there at launch. But I'm going to get it day one. Really excited to see what they do with that game and how they improve upon the Battle Royale genre. Now, next, they went to Vince Zampella in the audience, and Andrea gave like a quick interview with him. And he mentioned that they're doing Star Wars game, and it's a Jedi Fallen Order, where it's like a single-player game, and you play as a Jedi between Episode 3 and Episode 4, Revenge of the Sith, and A New Hope, and it's coming out next year. And I am super excited for that game. I am a big fan of Respawn. I love the Titanfall games. I love the Modern Warfare games that they made when they were Infinity Ward. But was anybody else just a little disappointed that they didn't get to see anything? Like, no gameplay trailer, not even any concept art in a show that was almost heavily dominated by concept art. Was I the only one not disappointed that they didn't show a trailer? I wanted to see like a lightsaber pop up and you battling some Sith. Not even a long one. I'm not talking like a 3-minute gameplay trailer, just like a CGI trailer, something quick, something to like, give you a quick taste to want more, to anticipate the title. It's just, oh, here's the interview. Oh yeah, we're making this game, and bye. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, oh man, come on. Like, I love Star Wars games. I'm a big fan of Star Wars in general. And the idea of playing of a Jedi between Revenge of the Sith and New Hope is pretty interesting to me. But they needed to do something more. I wanted to see the trailer, concept art, something. Just something. But that was okay, just to know that game's coming and it's single player and stuff like that, and Respawn's behind it, or, I'm already really anticipating it. And then I think next we went to Battlefield 2, and it was basically just, we're sorry. We're sorry, guys. We screwed up Battlefield 2 for everybody. Oh my God, we're so sorry. We're changing all these things. Look, they really screwed up. Not necessarily the developers at DICE, but whoever made the decisions to do those loot boxes. And there was something to be said about coming out on stage and actually addressing it to your fans. Like, yo, we really, really screwed up, and we're going to make it up to you guys and make it better. It just was really awkward to see that guy up on stage talking about it and things like that. I mean, I'm happy the game's getting fixed, but it never should have launched in that situation. It never should have been pay to win. You know what I mean? Like, it never should have been like that. So the fact that they're backtracking is good, but you can't really. Here's the thing: you can't really give these companies a pass for a lot of stuff, because if you do, if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. You know what I mean? They will take a mile. So you got to keep them in check. The people who boycotted Battlefront 2 seemed to work because the game didn't sell as much and they went back to the drawing board. So I'm happy people held EA to the fire on that one. And because of those dumb decisions, like I mentioned during the Battlefield 5 part, they're basically, loot boxes are just a bad term now and everybody's avoiding them. So that was the "we are sorry" moment of the press conference. I thought it was kind of funny. I don't really have any interest in Battlefield 2 anyways. I played the multiplayer. It's cool. I played the single player. It's all right. But I have no intentions of ever going back to that game. But that's just me. Somebody else in chat might feel a little bit different, but that's just me. Then they showed off Unravel 2, which wasn't really a surprise considering it got leaked this morning. And that's another topic for another different video. Like, literally everything about this E3 was Battlefront 2. Battlefront 2. I'm sorry. I have it written down as Battlefield 2. I meant Battlefront 2. You guys knew what I was talking about. When I said Star Wars, I meant Battlefront. My bad for misspeaking. It's live. Cut me some slack here. I'm the only one here, too. So I meant Battlefront 2. Sorry, Cypress. Shout out to Silver Rivet 3 for the super chat. He says, it should have been Andrew Wilson on to apologize. You know what? I agree with you. That is a great point. He is the CEO of EA. He should have been the one up there apologizing for that, not the developer, not the dude who probably had nothing to do with it, just some random dude on there. You're right. I 100% agree. Andrew Wilson should have been the one to get up there and apologize for that situation they put those developers at DICE in. Anyways, Unravel 2. The first game was a little bit disappointing to me. I like the idea of it. The game looks great. Playing this one in co-op, though, that might actually elevate it. I remember playing this with my buddy Sam, who's in chat right now. My good friend. Hi, Sam. I hope you're enjoying this show and not watching Shroud right now. But we played a Way Out together, and it was a really great game. Heightened by the fact that I was playing the game in co-op with one of my buddies. And now I'm looking at Unravel 2, and even though it was maybe a disappointing single-player experience, I think that game's going to be elevated by the fact you can play it with a friend. So, Sam, you better buy that game when I get on Xbox Live. It better be downloading in my my queue so we can play it together, because it seems pretty cool. I think it's online co-op. If it's not online co-op, well then they screwed up pretty badly. But I would imagine it's available to play online, and it's available today. That was one of those kind of things. Oh, by the way, it's available today, which they didn't even let the dude who revealed the game come out and actually say that. It was somebody else who came out and be like, oh, by the way, it's available today. Like, why didn't you let the developer, the guy who actually made the game, the guy who loves the game, there's no online co-op in it? Are you serious? Oh my God. Well, that's a huge, gigantic miss. It's local co-op only. Oh man, now I'm not. Do I even want to play Unravel 2 anymore? I don't want to play like co-op by myself. I don't really have anybody to play it. Not you guys just destroyed my hype for Unravel 2 literally live right now. What? This is like the one thing, or one of the things I was really excited about and thought that the conference did well, because that guy who came out there really is a genuine person. You can tell by how he speaks and what he says that he truly cares about his game. Now the main feature of it is local? Oh man. Anyways, I'll still probably end up picking it up. I kind of like the first one, but it was a little disappointing. This one, maybe it's better. Maybe they improved it from the first, but it's available right now for $20. They also talked about well, I mean, I'll get these out of the way. They showed off FIFA 19. They showed off Madden 19. I mean, those games come out every single year. And I'm really, really happy they didn't have a 10-minute dedicated segment to FIFA like they have previously in the past. It was kind of short. You guys remember Pele coming out there talking about FIFA when he seemed to be pretty drunk or didn't know what was going on. So I was glad that was short, and I was glad the Madden segment was short, although pretty cringy watching that video for that dude who won the Madden play. Like as they were showing him, and he was like lose. He would go to shake the dude's hand, but he wouldn't shake his hand, and then he comes out on stage, um, with the belt on his shoulder, like trying to imitate Hip Hop Gamer. I kind of zoned out during that, and it's never a really good thing when I zone out from these conferences. Like I tend to zone out during like almost every Inside Xbox episode. That's when you know a press conference isn't catching your attention. When within like 20 minutes, you're already thinking, like looking at your your watch, like, man, is this almost over yet? What's going on here? Don't I got better things to do? Where are the games? What's going on? But that's how you know it's already setting in. It's like when that early, it's like, oh man, we're in for a long ride here. So yeah, the FIFA, the Madden stuff, and then the EA Origin Premier PC they announced for like $100 a year. And the way I understood it was that it comes with all the new games right away with early access at launch, plus access to all the other games in the vault. Seems like a pretty good deal if you play on PC, especially if you're getting all their games with it. Currently, EA Access, I want to say EA Access and Origin Access are like $5 a month on Xbox and PC. So that comes out to be about what, $60 a year. Now if that came to Xbox and it was $100 and it actually came with the games and early, I think that's a pretty good deal, and I would probably get that because that means I wouldn't have to necessarily buy Battlefield 5 or any of those other games, right? I could it'd be like Xbox Game Pass in a certain way. I wonder if that's going to happen or if that's only for the PC market. And I see what says it's streaming only. Well, that makes sense because they did say that I did read recently that they bought the GameFly streaming service, so they want to get into that. So it makes sense. But yeah, that probably wouldn't be on Xbox then if it was just streaming. So that probably won't come there. So maybe it makes sense for the PC market. But back to honestly, what I thought was the best part of the show. And maybe you guys will laugh, and that's fine. But Sea of Solitude. I thought it was a really, really cool looking indie game. Like really cool. But the reason I liked it a lot was because the person they got up on stage was being genuine. They clearly didn't have a teleprompter for her. She was just speaking from the heart about a game that she poured her, blood, sweat, and tears in. And you can tell it was genuine. And I really like those heartfelt presentations. This is like where you compare and contrast the stuff at Battlefield 5 in the beginning where it felt stilted. It was just dudes reading off a teleprompter with heavy accents. And even though this woman had a heavy accent, I was still transfixed by what she was saying about how she was presenting the game and the emotions that she was saying that would be in the game. So that really was the best moment of the entire press conference to me. It was real, it was human, and the game honestly looks pretty cool to me. So that was the highlight of the show, in my opinion, was Sea of Solitude. I know a lot of people disagree. I know they'll just point to the AAA games like Anthem and Battlefield 5, but there's just something real about that moment where I sat there and I was transfixed by what she was saying. I didn't even blink my eyes. And by the end, I was like, I'm sold on that game. I'm really sold on that game. And I wish more conferences had that level of realness to it. You know what I mean? So looking forward to Sea of Solitude, best moment of the whole presentation. And then, and then we get to what OBJ would call straight trash or garbage, right? Hope I say it correctly. I have the right way. Garbage, right? It's garbage. And that's Command and Conquer Rivals on a phone game. Look, I know mobile is important and stuff, right? I understand there's a huge business opportunity there. And EA wants obviously all their products everywhere. But man, you put that game with all these other games in your press conference, man. Look, I don't want to see any mobile stuff. Nobody wants to see any mobile stuff. if this was Microsoft, if Microsoft came out there and showed off a demo of two dudes sitting on there playing a quick game of Halo Mobile, they'd be laughed out of the building. If Sony did that, I even think the Sony fans who love Sony with all their hearts would laugh Sony out of the building. Nintendo, of course, could get away with it because Nintendo fans, they gobble up whatever Nintendo says. In fact, if Nintendo showed a mobile game on stage, they'd probably say it was the best conference of all time. You know what I mean? But to see Command and Conquer just kind of relegated to a mobile game is just kind of disappointing. And maybe it's because I'm not the target audience for mobile, which why it doesn't appeal to me. Maybe there's people out there that are like, hell yeah, you know what? I can't wait to go home, fire up my phone, and play some Command and Conquer Rivals. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, come on, that's a straight up L. I thought Miami Street, Microsoft releasing Miami Street was an L, but at least they didn't even advertise it, didn't even talk about it. It literally just came out, and they're like, well, they don't even know it exists, right? But here EA literally took time out of their conference to show off a mobile game. Straight up L, dude. Straight up L. I mean, I don't know what you can say. And it followed the best moment of the conference, the human realness of her, you know? And they followed up with a mobile game. Man. That's what I'm saying. 3 out of 10. And people said I was downplaying EA when I said that in my hype zone thing. They were like, no, Rand, you're being too harsh. 3 out of 10. That's too harsh. Really? This is EA. We know what they do. They do this every single year. They put on a poor show. Now, maybe some of it's because some of this stuff will be at platform holders conferences, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. But man, they just put on a poor show. But here we get to the the meat and potatoes, what everybody really tuned in to see. They tuned in to see Anthem. They wanted to see the gameplay, like myself. People have been really down on EA since Battlefront 2, and I said that right, Cypress Smurf, Battlefront 2, because of the whole loot box. People don't trust EA anymore. People really don't even trust BioWare that much anymore because, well, quite frankly, they released Mass Effect Andromeda, which killed the franchise. So they see Anthem as like a cash grab, something to really sell loot boxes, right? And it honestly doesn't even look like a BioWare game, or at least a BioWare game that you would imagine they would have made from earlier in this gen, especially during the 360 generation, right? It seems like a Destiny style game, and I'm not sure BioWare can pull it off. But so they bring off Casey Hudson and the team on stage, and we're going to have a deep dive about this game. And when they talk about a deep dive, I almost think for a second, like, well, didn't Sony say they're going to have a deep dive on 4 of their games at this year's E3? Are we going to tune in on Sony's press conference on Monday and see the couch out again? Are we going to see the couch out on Sony's stage to do some deep dives on those 4 games? That's something to think about, something to ponder. Are we going to get the couch again from PSX rolled up on stage at E3? Interesting to think about. And honestly, you could tell they wanted to get people out in front of an audience to talk about Anthem, to try to explain, yo, this is a single-player game, even though you can play it co-op. Yo, this has no loot boxes, so we're not going to screw you. You can't pay for power. Yo, this is our most ambitious game. They're trying to, like, hype people up. But the problem I had with this presentation itself was that it was just all kind of backed by concept art, which I did say I want a concept art for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, but for a game that's coming out in 8 months, I want to see gameplay. We saw gameplay last year, right? We saw gameplay last year. Why are we seeing concept art for this game that is coming out in 2019? This game was supposed to be out this year, remember? It got delayed. So why are we seeing concept art? Why are we seeing repeating footage of that concept art? Because they showed it multiple times. Am I the only one who noticed that while I was watching the presentation? They showed the same concept art like 3 or 4 times. And I'm like, wait a minute, this this isn't how you do a presentation. If I did that for school, if I did a presentation and I repeated the slides multiple times, I get a freaking F. I would get an F, and my teacher would laugh at me, right? But not only was it just repeating concept art for a game that was supposed to come out this year, delayed to next year, they just really kind of showed the flying. It was just like every kind of gameplay segment, at least in the beginning, was just, hey, look at that dude. He can really jetpack like Iron Man. And yeah, that does look cool, like taking off and jetpacking up in the sky and jetpacking around, and especially jetpacking under the water. That looked cool. But I was questioning, I'm like sitting there thinking to myself, man, why are they only showing the jetpacks? Why are they showing concept art? This isn't really getting me excited about playing the game. I want to see the gameplay footage. Then I thought to myself, okay, well, maybe they're going to show it at Xbox's conference tomorrow and they just can't do it. It's a possibility. But then they actually started giving quick gameplay glimpses. We started to see the 4 classes, the Ranger, the Colossus, the Interceptor, and the Storm, started to quickly shoot at some enemies, and the numbers popped up. Oh boy, those numbers. They pop up in Destiny, they pop up in other games, but not only just numbers, but combo. You guys see when like the Interceptor shot off some missiles, it'd be like combo, 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 combo all over the place. I'm like, okay. I mean, the game graphically looks pretty good, although I don't know if it looks as good as it did last year. But it's clearly the combat doesn't look as good as Destiny. And you guys know I'm not a fan of Destiny, but there is something about Bungie's gunplay that is just it's extremely satisfying. The gunplay in this, or the gameplay, didn't really look interesting in my opinion. So they mentioned how, once again, no loot boxes. Guys, you get the theme? No loot boxes, no paying for power. Everybody claps, and I have to like shake my head because we're at this point where people are applauding, game developers for not putting in these booty boxes. You know what I mean? Like, we're at that point now where people are applauding that, and it's just like, oh my lord. But then they showed off the demo. Okay? Now, the demo I liked. I did like what they were trying to do with that. I still am not really that excited for the game, and I just question the entire presentation of it. Why wasn't there more footage of what's going on instead of just repeating the concept art? This is supposed to be a game that's coming out soon. You know what I mean? Like, why do that? Why just do this short 3-minute demo? And then they dropped the bomb. They said that, hey, this game's coming out February 22nd, 2019. And immediately I'm like, whoa, we have a fight going on here. We have 3 games coming out in February, 2 of them on the same day. We have Anthem going heads up with Days Gone from Sony, and Crackdown 3 recently got delayed to February. So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, clearly Anthem and Days Gone are not releasing on the same day. I don't care what anybody says. One of those games is moving. Either Days Gone's moving forward, or Anthem's moving forward, or Days Gone's getting delayed, or Anthem's getting delayed. Those 2 games are not coming out on the same day. Mark my words. One of those games is getting pushed back. If it's Days Gone, maybe it gets pushed back by 2 weeks. The Crackdown 3 thing, we don't know when it releases. If they release it like February 2nd, I mean, that's 3 weeks before, Anthem comes out. And honestly, it's clear to anybody else out there, I think, if you've been listening to me for a while, Microsoft's strategy isn't necessarily about selling raw copies of games anymore. It's about user engagement. It's about monthly active users. It's about getting Game Pass subscribers. So Microsoft needs a game maybe in that February slot to draw subscriptions. You know what I mean? So I don't really think they view that so much as competition, but Sony's all about selling Days Gone, and they're obvious. Look, clearly, even if Anthem and Days Gone are exactly the same game, they're going to appeal to the same type of gamer, and that's $120, maybe even more. You're competing for people's money, so one of these games is moving. Hell, all 3 could move. I'm not even convinced Crackdown's going to be coming out in February. And I'm not convinced Anthem's going to be coming out in February either. But all I'm saying is one of these games is moving. They are not releasing on the same day. If I had to guess, I would imagine Days Gone maybe slips back 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. They come out and say, "Hey, we needed some extra polish." I mean, it kind of looking like that. They're definitely for sure not launching on the same day though. That would be pretty stupid. But yeah, I was kind of surprised by that release date. I was expecting March for Anthem, but I mean, who knows at the end of the day? You know what I mean? Cypress Smurf wants to know, do you think Sony's old school method of success, copies sold, etc., is going to hurt them down the road? I don't think so. I mean, unless the entire market shifts really quickly into streaming, maybe, but I don't really see it shifting that fast. I'm sure Sony has their plans for how they want to approach the next generation of hardware and probably the next one after that, and they'll adapt if they have to. So I don't think it'll hurt them in the short term, and I doubt it would in the long term. But once again, I mean, the video game industry can turn on a dime sometimes. Last year, at this point in time, nobody was really talking about battle royale games. And now battle royale games are the biggest things in the video game industry, and everybody's releasing one. Stuff like this happens. You know what I mean? Something that's popular one day won't be popular the next. You just don't know. Maybe one day streaming immediately takes off, and they have to go after that. But I don't think so. I think Sony is fine. They're obviously raking in a ton of money, being the market leader with the highest install base, with PSN Plus giving them a lot of subscription revenue. They're releasing a lot of high quality exclusives, which people talk about all the time, and gets gamers really excited, gets them on their platform to play those games, and then gets them to stay on that platform to buy the other games that Sony puts out, the third party stuff and all the DLC and things of that nature. It's just that Sony and Microsoft they both really have different business strategies when it comes to their systems at this point in time. Which, Microsoft hasn't really beaten Sony. And you know what Vaz said in Far Cry? It was like, did I ever tell you the definition of insanity? Microsoft can't beat Sony, so it's like maybe they're going to try something different. Does it work out for Microsoft? Maybe, maybe not. But who knows what the future is going to bring? All we know is that next year, when EA has their press conference in June of 2020, and once again, when I write my hype levels for EA and I say it's a 3 out of 10, and once again, when people come at me and say, "Really, that low, Rand? What about Star Wars? What about this and that? What about this and that?" And I'll be like, "Have you not watched the previous 5 EA press conferences? This is their track record. This is what they do. They just don't put on a good show. Even though they might have good games, they just don't put on a good show. And it's kind of disappointing. I expect all the other shows the rest of the week to be much better. Tomorrow, we have the main event. The one I am the most excited for, clearly, being a Xbox fan, being a primary Xbox user. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow and what the Xbox One, what I'm going to be playing the rest of the year on the Xbox, both third party, but more importantly, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Microsoft is going to show first party wise. What do they have? What do they have? What are they going to show us? It can't just be Forza Horizon 4, and it can't just be Ori. It can't just be Halo and Gears. They really got to kind of pull out all the stops here. You know what I mean? So I'm really looking forward to that. Bethesda always have some prizes. Maybe they do a Doom 2, which would be really great. Monday, you got Square Enix, which honestly, I think Square Enix would be cool. They have a lot of games. They could show off Kingdom Hearts 3. They could show off Final Fantasy 7. They got Rise of the Tomb Raider. They got maybe Avengers with Crystal Dynamics. If I'm blanking on anything else, but they potentially have a lot to show. Ubisoft, baby Ubisoft. I'm all in. If Splinter Cell is there, I'm gonna be so excited. I don't care what else Ubisoft could show. They could get people out and show Just Dance for 30 minutes. If they ended on Splinter Cell, I don't care. 10 out of 10, baby. 10 out of 10. Splinter Cell is back, and we know it's coming. We know Splinter Cell is going to be there because, well, Walmart Canada leaked it. And there's been rumors about it forever. If it's on that Walmart Canada leak, it's coming true. So expect the Gears 5. Maybe expect Forza Horizons 5. Maybe Microsoft jumped the number 4. But oh man, I want to hear Michael Ironside's voice as Sam again. I'm going to get excited, man. Splinter Cell. My type of game. And then I think Sony's is on Tuesday night, if I'm not Monday night. And I know for a lot of people, that's the main event. People can't wait for that. And I am greatly anticipating what Sony's going to show because I love The Last of Us 2. Before God of War, I thought it was Sony's best exclusive. But now God of War, in my opinion, is better. But Last of Us? Oh, baby. I'm getting excited just thinking about what Naughty Dog is going to do. I'm really interested in seeing if there's actually going to be gameplay of Death Stranding. Are we actually going to see what that game is all about? Crossing my fingers. Because just another trailer. Like if Kojima gets out there and they just give another cryptic trailer, sorry, not going to cut it this time. I've seen 3 different cryptic trailers for Death Stranding the last 2 years. Another cryptic trailer ain't going to do anything for me. I need to see what that game looks like, what that game plays like. So I'm hoping for gameplay. Ghost of Tsushima, I'm incredibly interested in that. Incredibly interested in seeing what that game is. Is it really going to be this open world samurai adventure and stuff? Can't wait to see what they have hold. And honestly, I don't really need to see any more of Spider-Man. We've seen a ton of Spider-Man. We've seen the Game Informer footage. We've seen the like 9-minute demo they had last year. I don't need to see anything more of this game. I'm sold on the game. I'm getting it day one. It was my most anticipated game for the year. I don't need to see anything more of it. But of course, I am also excited to see what other stuff they have on their show. Are we going to have a Mortal Kombat 11 reveal? Is there going to be a Superman game from Rocksteady? Is Capcom going to be out there showing off Resident Evil Remake? Is Devil May Cry 5 real? Is that going to be exclusive to PlayStation? A lot of questions are going to be answered. Is there going to be a BioShock 4, says Constant Throwing. I don't know, man. It's really exciting. Exciting time. And a relevant native, what's going on, buddy? He says, Rand, what do you say to those that say Anthem is nothing new, it looks boring, and is just another generic third-person game? Well, I don't really think it looks generic. I think the game looks really cool. I just really haven't seen enough of it. I actually quite like the jetpacking, but the combat, I don't know. I'm just not extremely hyped for Anthem. I want to get my hands on it. I want to see what what my friends who are over there at EA play. I want to see what their impressions are. Like because watching and playing are 2 totally different, separate things. So I want to see what their impressions are. But I don't know. I think it kind of looks unique in this era of there's not that many third person like games that look like that. So I do think maybe the no PvP at launch is a little bit disappointing for people that love PvP, because that's one of the things that's kind of kept Destiny afloat, was the fact that you could fight other players and things like that. So it is maybe disappointing in that aspect. But then watching that footage, I kind of think to myself, man, I don't know how that would work at all in a PvP setting. I don't know how that would work. Face asked, do you think publishers should keep their shows shorter than 100 minutes? Look, if you have a ton of stuff to show and it is paced well, it is tight, if it's wall-to-wall, game, I don't care if it's 2 hours long or 3 hours long. That's exciting. If it's new, of course, we have to have new stuff, new hypeness. If it's stuff that we know of, if it's 2 hours or 100 minutes of people up on stage talking about how we got no loot boxes and concept art fun on the back, behind them, then yeah, I agree. It doesn't need to be 100 minutes long. But if it's just like, Phil Spencer or Sean Layden getting up on stage and be like, welcome to E3, we have a good show for you, roll the games for the next 120 minutes. That'd be awesome. If it was all new stuff, I'd be excited to see 2 hours of brand new games. Wouldn't you? I would be. Johnny Weird Word wants to know, what do you expect from Splinter Cell? Do you think it's going to be rebooted? That's an interesting question. It's called Splinter Cell, so there's a thought that maybe it's the first one just remade. Maybe it's a sequel, because obviously the character in the Ghost Recon stuff is an aged Sam. Maybe it's a sequel where he's like trying to fight to save the world one last time as an aging man. That could potentially be cool, but I don't care. It's Splinter Cell. I'm going to be super excited. Although I guess it really depends. I'm kind of nervous if they're going to go the open world Ubisoft approach. I'm not necessarily a fan of their open world stuff. I hope it's a very laser focused, linear, level to level type experience. That's what I want from Splinter Cell. I don't know what everybody else wants, but that's my bag, baby. That's what I like. But yeah, we're gonna have a great rest of the week. My hype level for Microsoft, I think I said, was 8, same as Sony. If they can match that, if they can both come in at 8s, it's gonna be great. It's just at least we started off with this, right? At least we started off with this mediocrity. Well, even worse than mediocrity, because I gave it a 3. It starts E3 off, but doesn't start it off on the right foot. To Microsoft's, hopefully, crossing my fingers, we'll start it off with a bang tomorrow, and then it'll just go from there. But yeah, that's about it, guys. I am glad everybody tuned in. I know we have 400 watching right now. If you'd all be so kind to like the video if you enjoyed what you heard here. Sometimes I do these live shows impromptu. I did prepare, so I'm not like out of my element being like, oh my God, where's Jazz? So give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the show. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit all those different buttons and stuff. You know how it all works. Me and Jazz will be back tomorrow after the Microsoft press conference. Not sure when yet, but I'm going to watch it like I always do, take notes, collect my thoughts, and me and Jazz will come on, and we're going to give our thoughts on it. Maybe one of us likes it more than the other. Maybe one of us hates it, and it's going to be an interesting back and forth. And potentially, depending on how it goes, maybe we have other people join us. I kind of got to get going. Otherwise, I would invite people in here to have a discussion, but something just came up, and I have to kind of leave. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for being in here and showing your support. Hit that like button. And I'll see everybody tomorrow for the Microsoft press conference, baby. Later, guys.